Hi, I'm Andrew Gagnon with an audio version of The Eating Bed, and we're going to do a review about Titanfall, but we're doing it several months after it came out. Just a little bit of hindsight as we can do a little rambling about it. Titanfall, because it works. With the release of the newest map pack for Titanfall, IMC Rising, it effectively signals the end of the first season of Team Titanfall. IMC Rising was the third map pack since the release of the game, and for the fans who bought the Season Pass, it's the last of the packs you get as a part of that plan. Hence my season analogy and why I'm decreeing this as a significant marker on the game's timeline. Now, of course, there hasn't been any news on what Respawn will plan going forward for the game. Are they working on the next version? Will there be other map packs? Is there a timeline for anything, period? Well, from how Titan fans have been serviced by Respawn, one can have faith that something good is planned and likely being worked on now in high gear. But let's talk about the rookie season of the game. Okay, first let's talk about sales. Now, sales numbers are a stat which, can be moot to a certain point. Example, Destiny apparently sold millions of copies in pre-sales, but you're talking about a developer who just came off making one of the biggest game series of all time with Halo. But I feel Titanfall's numbers are fair to throw out there, since this is the first kick at the can for their developers. Yes, these aren't truly rookie developers. Respawn is led by Jason West and Vince Zampella, who were part of the COD series until just after Modern Warfare 2. There was more backing financially and had a health of professional, successful games development behind them. Not to mention EA's big pockets. But regardless of that, it was a first title in a new game by a newly formed company, albeit a company with advantages most new devs don't have. Electronic Arts COO Peter Moore had gone on the record saying on its release in March, they sold 925,000 copies in retail units. This, of course, was a launch month, and saw the game launch only March 11th, and only on the Xbone and the PC. Now, I was one of the people who actually bought the Titanfall Xbone bundle. For the regular price of an Xbone console, you got the game too. The fact is, that March bundle launch was done with the Kinect version of the Xbone. One could theorize, had there been a version without the all-seeing eye, sales could have been more. Or at least people would have bought the cheaper option, flip a coin. However, don't kid yourself. Titanfall was the reason why March was the biggest month of selling Xbone consoles since the initial launch to that date. In June, Moore again went public and said, sales are always going to be inhibited and governed by the install base, but Titanfall is attaching incredibly well. Moore continued, Titanfall is the best-selling title on the Xbox One lifetime to date. This is something I kind of take with a grain of salt. For me, Titanfall was the first major release on the Xbone. If you wanted it on next gen, you had to get it on the Xbone, as it's not being made for the PlayStation. The fact that it had to be the best-selling Xbone title to date because it was the biggest title, it just had to be. So it was, and they did what they had to do. Now, a stat to correct here, because I did hear a lot of people claim Titanfall helped sell more Xbone consoles in March than PlayStation 4 units in North America. But this was wrong. PS outsold the One. But again, it was the biggest month for Xbone moving their console units. Have there been reports, as the one attached on the link to the written version of this blog, that 1 million consoles had been sold in hype for the game, but this was never verified. But let's make it clear, this is not a Microsoft versus Sony debate. Face it, sales in this industry are largely driven by hype. And hype doesn't mean the game is going to be good. Example, Watch Dogs this year sold 4 million copies in its first week. Anybody playing Watch Dog anymore? Watch Dogs. But there's probably only one person playing, so I should probably say Watch Dog. In the end, sales-wise, Titanfall did very well. But as I just explained, for a game to be successful, And to get an elusive franchise, what all developers want, you need more beyond that. But for Titanfall's checklist of how to be successful, the sales gets a check mark for sure. Reviews. Like assholes, we all have an opinion. So when it comes to critics in most fields, it's tough to weed out the jerks who love to hate or work in an agenda over a neutral person trying to honestly write a review. But overall, by reputable game reviewers, the critics overall really enjoyed Titanfall. Metacritic gave the game a score of 86 as to October 1st, 2014. This ranks tied for 4th in Xbone scores. Interestingly, Minecraft for the new gen ranked first at 88, while Destiny and Watch Dogs had similar 78 scores. Notable publications gave the following scores: Edge, 8 out of 10. Electronic Gaming Monthly, 10 out of 10. GameSpot, 9 out of 10. IGN, 8.9 out of 10. Official Xbox Magazine, 8.5 out of 10. And Polygon, 9 out of 10. Now, one main hurdle for Titanfall was because its two leads were COD people. To break the idea, it would simply be a copy of the game. Would it have the same issues the newer games were having in that series, or would it simply be a copy of what works for people in COD? How do you stand up against the work you did before? Now, it's important to note, for me personally, I used to be a COD fan, although Halo has always been my top game. But COD with each new game got progressively worse for me personally, until finally I simply couldn't play the game when I got my hands on Modern Warfare 2 and beyond. Yeah, I own Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Ghosts. My son plays them. But I gave them a chance. It simply was a horrible experience from what I was used to with the earlier titles. The original Black Ops is where, for me, the game then after stopped being fun. So it's important to let you know that. Well, Titanfall stood up tall on its own with the critics. It only takes a few minutes playing Titanfall to see it's not COD, or even Halo for that matter, and it's not trying to be anything but Titanfall. When you want a game to succeed, you need good press. Titanfall got that. The game simply works well. What is Titanfall? When I first heard this game was in development and with its ties to COD, I personally imagined a game with too many weapons and attachments that meant too much time checking combinations to find what works. Not to mention the ranking up had its weapon unlocks, and that would mean not an even playing field versus others when any game started. But what we got foremost from Titanfall is a balanced game. Scary balanced at times. It is also in many regards a simple game. So let's talk about the balance aspect. The fact that there is such balance in the game that despite variables you would think would throw it out of whack. I already mentioned the different weapons and the leveling up, which means a level 1 at a random match won't have the same weapons as somebody who is, say, 30, 40, or 50. But I find that experience does give you an upper hand more than one would think in order to compensate. More so than COD, which has a similar system where prestiging up as far as weapon allocations in play. Titanfall, it works. Titanfall also introduces AI bots minions. You have grunts and specters on each side that can complicate or make things easier depending on what you're up to in a specific game type. To some people, these minions can help your KD dramatically if that's what you're into. I think for a lot of people who are trying to level up and get specific challenges, a lot can be easily met, or more easily met at least, by mowing down some of these minions. For some players like my son, he seems to be able to hack a dozen specters in every game, helping him have his own personal little army while trying to get the game team goal done. After seeing him do this, in fact, I often sit guarding a hard point, and when an enemy Spectre troop comes in, because they come in groups of 3, instead of blasting them, I hack them, and all of a sudden, it's a bunch of us protecting the hard point. It works. The fact you get multiplier on points based on your gen, so like Gen 4 gets 1.4 times the points, helps you in leveling up. So points-wise, it actually gets faster with each gen to level up. Now, to balance experienced players from hitting the max Gen 10 level 50, there are level specific challenges required to hit your next gen, make it a little tougher. With the exception of the first gen, the only thing you have to do there is hit the level cap of 50 to go to Gen 2. And it works. Yet somehow I can't honestly think I've lost too many matches on Titanfall because my teammates were concentrating on these other challenge-related goals. It seems that we're all out there to win. We're always fairly competitive without being too distracted by ranking up or kills up against minions or leveling up to get certain challenges. I just recently leveled up, in fact, from Gen 4 to 5, having to do the challenge of getting 25 critical hits with the charge rifle. Oh, what a pain. I had to play a good 20 or 30 games keeping this challenge as my main goal and effort to gen up. Hoping not to hurt my team all the while. The funny thing is, I still played as a team player. I slowly leveled up. Granted, my KD was not that great, but I finished up my challenge, and more surprisingly, and a kind of surprise, a good surprise, I won the majority of my games. This coincided with the third map pack release, IMC Rising, I mentioned before. So provided I don't screw up those maps in the next few days, you can even go look at my profile to see the record I have on these three new maps. For once, I am winning. It works. For me, this leveling up challenge angle is in stark contrast playing COD, trying to level up by getting certain kill achievements, as it meant you were taking away from your team in COD. And that's not a criticism on COD, because logically, that's what should happen. You have to put the team first against personal goals. However, it's a compliment to Titanfall on how well this game actually works. Of course, there could have been instances, and there have been instances, where a teammate was camping to get challenges that did hurt my team, but honestly, not often. It works. Now let's look at the simplicity angle. For the simplicity factor, I'm referring to the number of weapons, weapon add-ons, and similar Titan-related choices. Pilots have a choice of 1 of 10 primary weapons, 1 of 3 sidearms, 1 of 4 anti-Titan weapons, 1 of 5 ordnance, 1 of 3 tactical abilities, and there are 2 different tier kits that in each you can choose 1 of 6 packages to add on. Yet there is no combination anyone has figured out that trumps all others. It's up to your style and what you like on a certain map and on a certain game mode. It works. Titans, they have 3 different chassis to choose from. Simple logic: small, medium, and large. Logic dictates the smaller ones are faster, take less damage, while the biggest is slower, takes a lot of abuse, and medium is in between. For your Titan, you can choose 1 of 6 main guns, 1 of 4 ordnance selections, 1 of 3 tactical ability selections, and there are 2 other tier categories that you can choose 1 of 5 different things to build your Titan. Yet there is no combination anyone has figured out that trumps all others. It's up to you, your style, what you like on a map, the game mode. I'm going to say it again, it works. Now, if you play a game like Halo, these seem like a lot of choices and not simple. But for COD diehards, it's not a lot. It's a good balance with Titanfall. It works. Now, there are burn cards too. You earn these by playing through points or leveling up. There are a little over 60 of these, and most of them are for the lifespan of, wait for it, only 1 life in a single game. They'll give you a perk like having Amped, a fully loaded weapon, having double points for kills, but since most only last for 1 life, they don't throw the game out of line. In fact, you're only limited to 3 of these cards in a single game, and often you die before you really get to use it. Note, you even get extra points for killing someone who has a burn card activated on them. It works. Recent updates have allowed a black market where you can take the points you earn to buy individual burn cards or even blind packs of burn cards or even Titan insignias to personalize your mech. Daily challenges help you earn extra points as well. Yet the point totals for these challenges aren't crazy high like, say, Halo Reach, which often had a lot of points for fairly easy goals. It works. Now, Titanfall has the very cool feature that at the end of every game, with the exception of Last Titan Standing, there is an evac. This is a mini game of sorts. The losing team has to get to an evacuation point where they have to wait for a dropship to arrive and then get on it before it leaves. You try to stay alive and make it out while the winning side tries to achieve total victory by either killing all the pilots or blowing up the dropship and stranding the pilots left behind. I gotta admit, you can get smoked losing the main game, but you can get such a thrill by at least getting your tail onto a successful evac. A game within a game, it works. Personally, and please don't get me wrong, because all games want balance, but if Titanfall got this balance by blind luck or by some masterful design, by divine intervention, whatever, all I care about is it works. Okay, we'll talk about this. It's something which irked some people. There is no real campaign in Titanfall. It was built as a multiplayer game. In fact, it was a surprise to me that they added what effectively was a mere series of multiplayer matches with some cutscenes and called it a campaign. So, there is a campaign in the game. It's not a real campaign. Traditional sense. Now, I love Halo lore and read all the books, even the crappy Greg Bear ones. Great writer, just not a good book. So, I love background stories, and yet while Titanfall has a story they flesh out a tiny bit, I'm simply drawn into the gameplay. So, would I like a new Titanfall game with a real traditional campaign? Yeah, sure. But not if it takes away for the biggest reason I love the game, superb multiplayer. That being said, I feel bad to some degree for people who bought the game expecting a real traditional campaign. But then again, if you're going to buy a game, read up on it and you'll see it ain't really got a campaign. Granted, there are gamers who are campaign type people foremost. And, well, I'm a multiplayer player first. Titanfall is a multiplayer game, so it starts and ends there for me. A big check mark that the core gameplay and structure of the game works. The bottom line. Okay, how did Titanfall do then in the end? Will there be more? Was it a success? As explained sales-wise and its actual game setup, Titanfall did well. I'm also giving a slow clap to Respawn's seemingly strategy this year. I mean, it's a shooter, and they knew Shooter Legends, Halo, and COD would have fall releases. They also knew that the MMM shooter Destiny was out around the same time as well. Plus other hits like Assassin's Creed, making a fall, a real race of big name for sales. So, a March release of a shooter in Titanfall was timed well. It had players like me hooked, and I was saying, I'll be playing this till Halo Master Chief Collection comes out. They sold a lot, got a lot of great press, and this when the gaming press was essentially slow. The spotlight was away from the heavy hitters in the same genre during this period. Good strategy. And now Respawn clearly have a franchise on their hands after establishing a great fan base. They also have acknowledged working on a new Titanfall, and one which will also now be released on the PlayStation. Yes, come November 11th, I will probably be Halo only on the Xbone for a while. But there's no question I've gotten my money's worth with Titanfall, and will buy the next installment of it whenever it drops. Well, there could possibly be other map packs with Titanfall, and for sure updates. It's safe to say the first season for it is winding down, and the Titanfall team did well. Because it works.